All right, artists, this is your video for making your clay pets. This is a demonstration video reviewing all the ideas that we talked about in class. You will receive a piece of clay about the size of your fist. And the first thing you want to do is make a sphere. So how are you going to do that? So you're going to use the palm of your hand, and you can tap your clay. You can roll it. You always want to work on a piece of paper, because when you work on the table, it leaves clay behind on the table, and you'll lose your clay. Your clay ball will get smaller and smaller and smaller as everything sticks to the surface. So it doesn't stick so bad to the paper, and if for some reason it did get stuck, we can peel the paper away from your clay. So you want to start tapping, rolling, and shaping the clay into a clay ball or a clay sphere. When working with clay, I like to keep my nails short so the clay doesn't end up under there. I don't like to wear any jewelry as the clay gets stuck in the jewelry. So you may want to remove any jewelry that you might be wearing. We're going to use a little bit of water to smooth out the surface of the clay sphere, using my thumb to smooth out any imperfections we might see, any problems. The better the clay sphere, the better the project. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is make a pinch pot. Pinch pots are made with your thumbs. Only the thumbs go inside and the fingers stay outside. It's all about the thumbs. It's a thumb party. The thumbs go inside and the fingers stay outside. So we start with pressing your thumb into the center of the clay and then pinching like this. I'm not pinching down on the top. That will make a hole as my fingers and my thumb meet. And you don't want to put the clay down, because it ends up with a really thick, heavy bottom and really thin walls. So you want to keep the pinch pot in the air the whole time as you're forming it. So we're pinching and turning. Both my thumbs are going inside now, and my fingers stay outside. I'm using this section of my fingers to pinch against my thumb. Pinch and turn, pinch and turn. The thickness of the pinch pot should be about the thickness of a Sharpie. You can see it matches, or about the thickness of your finger. You don't want the walls too thin for this project. It should look like half of a baseball or a bird's nest when it's done. And you can see I've got some stuff going on here. So we're going to take some water and we're going to smooth this surface out. So it should look almost buttery, like you're buttering up. You can see that like shiny look. So we're just smoothing out all these edges. There you go. All right. And that is a decent pinch pot. And we're going to use this for the project. There's only 3 ways to hand build with clay. One is a pinch pot, one is a slab, and one is a coil form. So we're going to go over that stuff right now. All right, so we started off with a lump of clay. We turned it into a sphere. From the sphere, we made a pinch pot. This is one of the fundamental ways to build with clay. So we have our little pinch pot here. The other ways to build with clay are slabs, and coils. Okay. After you're done with your pinch pot, you want to look in your sketchbook. We had time in class to sketch out what you wanted to make. And this project for your class is called the Pinch Pot Pets. And there's 3 ways that you could create your pet. So we're going to turn the pinch pot upside down. So we take this form and we're just flipping it around. So now it's upside down. And then what would you like your pet to look like? Do you want it to have ears that stick up, like a cat or a dog? You're gonna add eyes, nose, some sort of mouth. Maybe you draw on the whiskers with your toothpick tool that we're gonna go over very soon. Maybe you wanna draw around some little details there for the cat idea. If you want it to look like the mouse, do little big ears, little nose, you can draw that on there, and the eyes. Or if you wanted to do the dog, same ideas, all with the same skills. So we're just reviewing and using all the same skills over and over again. Okay, so those are some ideas of what you can use, and you can use the slab and the coil. Now our glue for building and adding any attachments is called slip. Slip is clay plus water. So you take a little bit of clay and you add it to your water cup. And that will equal you clay glue. And clay glue is called slip because you slip it in between the parts to put any of your parts together. You can't take two pieces of clay and mush them together. They will look like they're together, but after the clay project has dried, the two pieces will fall apart. So we're gonna take a little bit of clay and add it to your water to make a little bit of clay glue. It should look kind of cloudy. There we go. You have some clay glue started. You're gonna have extra clay in the middle of your table for attachments. So you'll have your one piece of clay that you're gonna build on, and then you're gonna have clay in the middle that you'll share with your classmates to add attachments to your project. So, attachments. You must scratch to attach. This is also called slip and score. So the scoring looks like hashtags on two pieces of clay that you're going to push together. You need to have these like scratches. That's what we call this, like that scratching look. Scratch in two different directions. And the slip, as we just talked about, is clay glue. So when you're pushing two pieces of clay together, you're going to scratch in two different directions on both pieces, and then you're going to add the clay glue. And that's going to slip in between and fuse your clay pieces together, just like that. It kind of acts like a locking mechanism. All right, so let's move on from there. All right, so we have our little pinch pot. We've turned it upside down, and now we're going to build on this form. So let's say you want to add a three-dimensional nose. We're going to make the little sphere, and we're going to smush it. And you can remove that from the paper really easy. Don't work on the table because it can get stuck there and not come off at all. So let's make a three-dimensional nose. You'll have a little tray of all kinds of hodgepodge of tools. We're gonna cut a nose shape. Put any scrap back in the middle for the other kids to use. At the end of class, there'll be little scraps everywhere like this of clay. Somebody will be in charge of going around and picking up all those pieces to be used by another class. So we're gonna put that nose right on there. So I want it to go about there. So I'm gonna trace it where I want it to go, about there. So that's how I know how big it is and where to put my scratches to attach my scoring. It's properly called scoring. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the back of the piece that will be the nose of your clay pet. Take some clay glue, tap it on both spots, and then we're gonna fuse the two pieces together. I'm pushing from inside with my thumb. It's a pinch pot, no fingers go inside, just the thumbs. And then we're going to just smooth out the edges so there's no roughness. So that's the nose of my pet. And you can also draw details on, like the mouth. You might want to draw the mouth on, but as I'm touching the clay, I might erase, so you can draw it at the end if you want. So there's my little nose. Let's put the eyes on there. We're gonna make 2 eyes. And I'm going to flatten one side because that's where we're gonna scratch to attach, so it kind of looks like a gumdrop shape. And I want them to go about there, so I'm gonna kind of mark where the eyes are going to go on my little clay pet. And we're gonna scratch and scratch in 2 different directions, adding some clay glue, which is called slip, and pressing your pieces together. If you want to pick that up, you can use the paper to knock it over and press from, I'm pressing from the inside, holding from the inside. Okay. All right. Let's add the other eye. Water here, water there, press your pieces together. There we go. You can wait and paint on the pupils, or you can kind of mark where they're gonna go with a clay tool. Okay. You can draw a little face on there. You can draw the little nostrils if you want. You can make the whiskers. We're gonna work on the ears next. You can see the little face forming there. Let's add some ears. So at this point, it could be a cat or a dog. I'm leaning more towards cat, so we're gonna make some ears. This is where we're gonna utilize like a pyramid. You can imagine the pyramid has that big rectangular bottom and then it's got like the pointy top. This is where we're gonna scratch because we always need somewhere to scratch to attach the shape. So you always wanna be thinking about that. How am I going to attach the parts? So I'm gonna make a big base and then I'm gonna pinch and pull, because pinching and pulling is a technique used with clay to create shapes. We pinch and pull what we want without having to attach something. We might have time to add a tail if we're lucky with a coil shape. So that's kind of like the slab shape, like that big base to add on to the cat. So we're gonna scratch in 2 different directions. And here, you can draw how big you think it's gonna be so it's not too big. Add your clay glue, which is a mixture of clay and water. If you're feeling that this is really big and really heavy and you're worried about it coming off, you can break off a toothpick and you can hide that inside there if you want to give it a little bit of extra support. Now, if this was not air dry clay, I probably wouldn't do that, but this is air dry clay, so we can cheat a little bit to help us make sure it stays better together so it makes its way home. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. You're gonna pinch and pull off a piece of clay from the center piece that you're sharing with all your classmates. You're going to put the clay down to make a base and you're gonna pinch and pull up. Pinch and pull up. If something comes off, that's okay. Just keep pinching and pulling for the strongest shape pyramid that you can make. And we're going to put that on the other side of the cat. Remember, you can't just push the two pieces of clay together. It will look like it's attached and later it will fall off as the clay dries. Because this is not kiln dried clay, this is air dry clay. Scratch and attach your piece, also called slip and score. There you go. And you can see I've just touched this here, so I've just erased my mouth accidentally. So we'll just draw it again. No big deal. Clay is very forgiving, don't worry. Okay, let's add some extra little details to my little guy here. We're gonna draw the mouth back on. There you go, so you can change it if you don't like it. And put the whiskers. You can draw the nose back on there that I had. And the nose. You can make some details inside the ears. And I think we have some time. Let's pop on a tail so you can see what that's like. So if you remember, there's 3 ways to build with clay: pinch pots, slabs, coils. So making a coil is exactly how you would think it would be. It's like making a snake with your Play-Doh. Okay, and we need somewhere to attach it. So I'm gonna make one side kind of flat and make the tail kind of wrap around for the cat. And so I would scratch all along here. And then I would scratch where I want the tail to go. Adding the clay glue and pressing the pieces together, and then erasing with my finger any extra marks on there. Now, we are going to transport this home today. You're going to pop it into a bottom bowl, and you're going to put the top bowl on top. You're going to write your name, and your class code is your grade number and your teacher's first initial of her last name. So if you get separated from you, I can get it back to you. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring it over to Miss Smith, and I'm going to put some staples on the edges, so it'll be like a little space pod. So when you take it home, you're going to remove the top lid, put it underneath, let this dry for about a week. Not directly in the sun, not directly near a heater. It will dry too quickly. And then once it's dried for about a week, like put it on a bookshelf or something off to the side. You can paint it with acrylic paint because it dries like plastic and it dries pretty quickly. Or you can paint it with something like nail polish or leave it as is. This is not something that you could eat out of or put outside because it's not permanent. And that's it. That's some basic clay techniques with air dry clay. This is exactly how you would use kiln clay if you went to a pottery studio and got to use clay at a studio. This is exact same techniques that you could use to make a piece that would go through the kiln process. All right, see you next time. Bye.